Judge, fellow opponents, a pleasant good afternoon. It was with profound pleasure that I rise on the affirmative side to debate the topic sex addiction is a mental illness rather than a moral flaw. Before I start, it is incumbent of me to define key terms to the youth. Psych Central defines sexual addiction as a progressive intimacy disorder characterized by compulsive sexual thoughts and acts. Mental illness, as defined by the CDC, refers to a disorder generally characterized by dysregulation of mood, thought, and or behavior, while the Oxford English Dictionary defines immoral as a standard of behavior or principles of right or wrong. Based on research done, three contentions were derived and analyzed. Psych Central defines, according to the So Psych Central, um, my first contention was psychological makeup, which basically talks about genes being traced down from the parents or family to the individual. Also, it could be abuse or neglect in childhood, such as sexual harassment or abuse, on a repeated pattern, which then leads to post traumatic stress. Also, under the first contention, this could arise because of the severe confusion about the individual's sexual orientation or identity, which can lead to compulsive sexual behavior as well. My second contention from the CDC, which is the social cultural background, which leads to exposure to a lot of drug, cocaine, also alcohol, also can lead to high sexual activities or sexual addiction. Also, if individuals quit the drugs for sexual, if individuals quit drugs, therefore they could use sexual addiction as a way to substitute for drug addiction. And the final contention is neurological view, meaning that most people have been exposed to pornography at a younger age. Based on a news article from Brain Activity Sexual Addiction, a study done by Wellcome Trust looked at the brain activity with 19 male patients affected with compulsive sexual behavior and compared them with the same number of healthy volunteers. And the results for that was that patients looking started looking at porn at an early age and had a higher proportion than the healthy volunteers. Therefore, that's why I think it is a mental illness rather than a moral
Okay. Judge ready? Opponent ready?
flaw. Yeah.
All right. Um, could you restate your contentions, please? Just the headlines.
Psychological makeup, social cultural background, and neurological view.
And could you redefine sexual addiction?
Sexual addiction is a progressive intimacy disorder characterized by compulsive sexual thoughts and acts.
Okay. How would you identify a sex addict?
I would identify them as someone who is actually capable or always want to involve in sexual activities.
Okay. What is the right amount of sex?
Uh,
And what
um,
is too much sex?
I would consider too much sex to be like probably 4 to 5 times a day.
And what source did you get this
Uh, that is my view. I don't have any source for
from? Okay.
that. That's
So this
what
is your moral.
yeah.
Okay. All right. And could you restate your definitions for the resolution?
Mental illness refers to a disorder generally characterized by dysregulation of mood, thought, and of behavior. And moral is a standard of behavior, principles of right or wrong.
Okay. And again, just to end it off, there is no standard of what is too much sex and what is not enough sex. Right or wrong?
Wrong.
Well, what is it?
I believe there is a standard for too much sex and not much sex.
Based off
My
your
judgment.
moral judgment. Okay. Thank you. Judge ready? Opponent ready?
Yeah.
All right. I just want to thank my judge for being here and also my opponent for a great opening. And and also restate our resolution today. We are here to talk about sex addiction as a mental illness instead of a moral falling, and I will be represented to show you why that is totally wrong. First, I will start off by saying the psychological, my opponent, his contention was the psychological makeup of it and the social cultural background, and also the neurological views. And in our cross X, as my opponent said himself, just off of moral value is what is based off of what's not enough sex or what is too much sex. Not scientific proof in that. My own case is my three contentions: science, double standard, and religion. And also, my opponent failed to provide a weighing mechanism, so I suggest you base the round off of the amount of science to claim sexual addiction is a mental illness. And my first contention, science. The terms sex addict and sex addiction are based on social and moral values towards something as natural as sex. If we start labeling problematic sexual behavior as addiction, it takes away the individual personal responsibility for their behavior. Sex addiction is just used to justify serial infidelity. To add a label such as addict or addiction would be to suggest that there is a right amount or form of sex, despite the fact that science has shown that sexual desires and behaviors occur in a great diversity. And there's no science to tell that there is a right amount or wrong amount. It's just based off moral judgment, as my opponent just proved in the last cross eight. And if we was to talk about what's real, we would realize sex addiction problems are always symptoms of other issues, such as my opponent did mention in his social culture background. So you want just because someone is having a lot of sex, you want to call that is a mental illness. We should go to the root of where it all started. Saying someone is a sex addict is equivalent to diagnosing someone with a sneezing disorder when they may actually have the flu. So we need to look deeper into the issue because it sweeps under the rug the bigger issue and distracts from accessing and treating the more complex underlying issues. And my second contention was double standard. The concept of sex addiction sprung into being just as society began to apply the same sexual expectation towards men that have been imposed upon women for centuries. Such as, for example, Tiger Woods, Charlie Sheen, Eric Benet, and Michael Douglas. When these men got caught cheating with numerous of women and they still going to their divorce seat in court, they just all of a sudden, they were sick. It wasn't their fault. They wasn't grown enough to make decisions. And my third contention is religion. The sex addiction model has become a vehicle for moral and religious forces to mask their moral judgments behind facades. Religiously motivated groups have adopted the concept of sex addiction as a means to attack homosexuality, alternative sexuality, and pornography, which have been going on for years. If you don't do it the way the church likes, it's got to be something wrong. You got demons or you possessed or something. And with that, the next stands down and urge you to vote our way.
Oh, yeah. Okay, my opponent. Can I get your contentions again, please?
My contention was science, double standard, and religion.
Under the religion section, you were saying something about man was impulse in woman for a number of years.
Oh, that was my double standard. One I
Oh,
said,
sorry, yes, that was the
yeah, I
second.
said that society just began to apply that to say sexual addiction when the expectation for sex and the moral compass of it don't apply both equally for men and women to be faithful. And then,
Do you believe in that?
yes,
You stated also in the science that there is no way that you can measure like how much is too much sex.
yes,
What do you actually mean by
because like everybody has a different appetite. Everyone has a different appetite for it. Some couples, married couples, probably do it once a month, and then you probably got some younger couples that's like rabbits. Like whenever I see you, it's almost like So I don't think it can be judged as what's too much and what's not enough. It's just a personal opinion.
that? Is that I stand down? Is
Okay.
that okay? Um, my opponent talked about science, double standards, and religion as her three contentions. But I would like to talk about the science aspect and the religion aspect, and she talked about the social moral value and the vehicle of moral judgment. First, I would like to restate the definition of um, a sexual addict and immoral. According to the Psych Central, it defines sexual addiction as a progressive intimacy disorder characterized by compulsive sexual thoughts and acts. And the Oxford English Dictionary defines moral as a standard of behavior or principles of right or wrong. Therefore, with that being said, I think a moral illness, for instance, like when someone starts using drugs, it actually damages the neurological system, then they will actually get addicted to that drug. So, therefore, that same aspect could be handed over to being a sex addict. Also, it would never be a moral falling because an addict could mean that a person is actually helpless. But if it's a moral falling, therefore it'll be easier to help them to um, better themselves. So that's why I think it's a moral illness than a moral
Oh, I'm sorry. All right, judge ready? Opponent ready?
falling.
Okay. My opponent claims that sexual addiction can never be a moral falling. It gonna be a mental illness because of the way someone grew up or their background or where they came from. And I believe that we all have choices. You can't just let stuff that happens define who you are. And a lot of it might be some people that actually do have feel like they can't control it, but they can. But a lot of people just use it as an excuse. If to label something as a sexual addiction, is that's exactly what it is. You define an excuse. The idea of sex addiction is sometimes used as an excuse for men who choose not to exert control over their sexual behaviors. But it's also used just as frequently to shame and suppress the sexual behaviors of others reflecting moral and religious values towards sex. Ultimately, these dynamics reveal that the concept of sex addiction is based upon the idea that there is a right form or a right amount of sex. This is a moral concept, not one based on scientific or medical research, and because of that, I urge you to vote for the negative. And I stand down for speech.
My opponent talks about everyone has choices. Yes, everyone has choices, but if you look at the sexual position, it was also talking about it reflects the religious values and it could be helps, right? So I think sexual addicts could get help only basically if they catch it in the early stage, but as long as they start getting addicted to sexual repercussions or different sexual acts. Therefore, it's like, as I mentioned before, like if you start using drugs and you continue using it, you'll get addicted to it and it'll be hard for you to get off it. Therefore, I think it's the same way you could apply it to the sexual mental illness to be a mental illness than to be a
Okay.
moral.